What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Week 10 edition of the Coast to Coast podcast. I'm Liam, your moderator today, coming from the University of Miami. And we got my boy Jose coming at you from the University of Oregon and Carson coming at you from CSU Long Beach. So without further ado, let's hop straight into these games. So starting off with Thursday night, we got the Colts with 34-17 victory over the Titans, a 29-39. Philip Rivers leads the Indianapolis Colts to a win over their AFC South Division rival. Rookie wide receiver from USC, Michael Pittman Jr. Leads all receivers with 17 receptions for 101 yards. Derrick Henry breaks 100 yards yet again this season on the ground, but is held scoreless. Tannehill struggles with 15 for 27 for 147 yards. Jose, what do you got to say about this one?
I mean, it seems like Jonathan Taylor just doesn't even want to win the starting job. I mean, they're giving him every opportunity to win this backfield, and he just does not perform. They've got one of the best schedules for running backs coming up. I think look for Nyheim Hines to be the premier back going forward, and look for Michael Pittman to kind of break into that wide receiver 3 flex territory. You can probably pick him up from waivers. As far as the Titans, I mean, A.J. Brown had a bad game, but Derrick Henry is just really a touchdown dependent. If he's not getting in that end zone, he's not putting up a big week.
Carson, anything else to add?
Yeah, with Hines, I mean, a tough schedule coming up, but I think it's really, schedule proof for Hines just because, when you have Rivers as your quarterback, he's going to check it down so much. He's going to be, gobbling up all his receptions. So I expect more of this from Hines, especially because, like you said, it seemed like Taylor just straight up lost his job. He was getting outperformed. It's nice to see Pittman have a nice game because coming in, I really liked him. I think he was really talented at USC, and he's like basically their main target. It's just the fact that their passing offense isn't as great, and the Colts defense is legit. Like they've actually been like a real fantasy asset this year, the number one defense. They don't seem as crazy as like some of the other defenses we had in the past, like the Niners last year, Jacksonville from a couple years ago, like the Bears. Those were like elite. Like if you had those teams, like those were like insane fantasy assets, but not as good as those, but they're still been really, really good this year. And Tennessee just put duds all around. I mean, Henry, led the team with 12 points. And if he's not scoring touchdowns, all those yards, just, not as many points as you're going to get from like another guy, like, a PPR monster or something.
Yeah. So, going into game number 2, we got Nick Chubb impressing in a return for the Browns as they win an ugly 10-7 game over the Texans. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt both go over 100 yards and combined for 258 yards from scrimmage. Baker with no touchdowns on 12 for 20 passing. Will Fuller fails to continue his touchdown streak as he finishes with 38 yards on the day. Carson, what do you say about this one?
Cleveland's at their best when they're just like sticking to like the run first identity. Baker did a great job today, just handing the ball off, not giving it up. Chubb and Hunt, it's great to see him back. He could have got another 6 points if he just, would have been selfish and gone to the end zone. But, obviously they just want to secure a win. And both these guys are super viable. It's crazy that they have like 2, potential like top 10 running backs on the same team. And then as for the Houston, they just got shut down by the Browns defense. Watson had a pretty bad day, only 163 yards passing. Pretty terrible fantasy game for the Texans.
Yeah, I think this Texans team is pretty much falling apart. I would sell Will Fuller while he still has some value, but definitely buy into this Browns running offense because their passing offense at this point is pretty much non-existent. I mean, Baker is just so bad. Yep. It's just a run-first team. Chubb and Hunt both must starts every week.
Exactly. Yeah. So going to this next game, the battle of the NFC Least, the Giants pull away with a 27-17 victory over the Eagles. Philly's good run defense fails to hold Gallman and Danny Dimes as the two punch in 3 combined touchdowns on the ground with 117 combined yards. Carson Wentz held without a touchdown as the effort from Sanders, Scott, not enough to pull through. All 4 teams in the NFC East remain in play for a playoff spot still at this point in the season. Jose, what do you got to say about this one?
I mean, I'm convinced at this point no one wants to win this division. The Eagles are still in first place because they have a tie and they had a bye week. Their win percentage is 38%. This is, I mean, like the absolute most joke of a division of all time. But Boston Scott with a touchdown on only 3 carries. And the return of Dallas Goedert, but they still are using Richard Rodgers more than him, which I just don't understand. And now we're hearing word that Zach Ertz is meant to come back. I don't understand it. But Slayton with a good game, 5 for 93, and Gallman with an absolute workhorse load of 18 carries, averaging less than 3 yards, but he did get 2 touchdowns. So Gallman's a guy that I don't think is more really rostered that much. I think look to pick him up now with Devonta Freeman on the IR.
Exactly. Carson, anything else to add?
Yeah, like Gallman's like really like moving himself into like, a solid flex option, and even like an RB2, just because, the running back options are so small nowadays, especially, with all these injuries, bye weeks. Jones had a nice day. He had 22 points. It didn't fall on his face this time. Ingram had a bust, and then, like you said, decent games for Slayton and then Shepard as well. It's tough to see Fulgham not do so well. I think this was a pretty, the Giants' defense is frisky, but I think they're definitely exploitable. And, it sucks to see him bust for the first time because, every other game he's been in double digits. And then don't worry about Sanders. It's still his backfield. He got 15 carries to Scott's 3. It just looked better for Scott because, he had that long touchdown run, but, it still is Sanders' backfield, when he's healthy.
Exactly. He's up there in yards per carry amongst the league leaders, so it's still something to be aware of. So going to game number 4, we got the Detroit Lions with 30-27 victory over the Washington football team. Lions kicker Matt Prater knocks in a game-winning field goal as time expires as the Lions improved to 4-5 on the season. The story of the game was the battle of the 2 rookie running backs. Antonio Gibson scores twice, and DeAndre Swift racks up a bunch of scrimmage yards and a score as both running backs topped 20 points. Alex Smith threw 55 times and reached 390 yards in his first start back from injury, but failed in the last 2 possessions of the game for his offense to secure a win for the Washington football team. So, Carson, what do you guys say about this one?
Yeah, free DeAndre Swift, man. He finally got like real like RB1 treatment, like starting running back duties. He had 16 carries to Peterson's 4. Finally, just let him go. Like, let him be the clear-cut back because, he's shown throughout the season, flashes. He's super talented. But, yeah, he had a great game with, about 26 points. And then the Marvin Jones game, we get at least, like, one a year where he just goes off randomly for no reason. He had 23.6 points. And then as for Washington, I think Gibson and McKissick are kind of like a poor man's version, a less popular version of Chubb and Hunt, but I think both of those guys, especially with Alex Smith behind center, they're both super viable. I mean, McKissick, like 15 targets, like that's insane. He had 17 points. And then, like you said, Gibson finding the end zone twice. They are both fantasy viable, especially in PPR. And then Scary Terry just keeps doing his thing. It doesn't matter who's under center. He got his 17 points. So, yeah, Washington, their running game is nice. Don't sleep on them.
Yeah, and I did before to let Jose say some things. I know watching the game, I was watching that one for a little bit. McLaurin was getting held on by Trufant a lot, so he probably missed out some points that he probably would have got against this line secondary. So, Jose, anything else to add?
Yeah.
Disappointing game from Hawkinson. His only real dud of the season, but I'm not too worried. I think he'll be all right going forward. But McKissick in PPR, I think, is like one of the most valuable running backs you could have. To have 15 targets as a running back, and Alex Smith, he's obviously a check down machine. He's going to continue to check down the ball to McKissick, and I think he's kind of like a James White type of running back out there, just catching balls.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
One's doing better than the other, though. We'll say that. So, game number 5, the Packers improved to 7-2 on the season with a win over the Jaguars. James Robinson continues to produce for an awful Jaguars team, but Jags receiver Keelan Cole scores a special teams and a receiving touchdown to break 20 points this game. The story of the game, though, was the air attack from the Packers. Devontae Adams brings in a touchdown, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling records 4 receptions for 149 and a TD. Jose, what do you got to say about this one?
Yeah, it's crazy because Valdez-Scantling's out here doing what we thought Lazard was gonna do. Hopefully he comes back and he performs. But Aaron Jones with a solid game, not really what we expected, especially against Jacksonville. But this Jacksonville offense, especially with Jake Luton under center, not really reliable except for Robinson, obviously. Um, Other than that, Devontae Adams had a good game as he always does.
This looks so bad.
Carson, anything else?
Yeah, I mean Robinson. Robinson's like the only viable guy on the Jaguars, like you said. And Scantling. I think like you can. I need to see like one more week from him. To like kind of confirm him as like a solid flex option. But 2 great games in a row. It seems like he's earning like Rodgers' trust even more. And yeah, bigger weeks for Jones to come. I feel like I was surprised too that he didn't have. I was expecting like a monster, like 30, 40 point type game from him this week, and we didn't get that. But I expected at least 1 or 2 more of those in the future.
Yeah. So going on to game number 6, following his worst performance of the season against the Saints on primetime, the Buccaneers scored double the amount of the Panthers in a 46-23 victory over their NFC South foe. TB12 with 4 total touchdowns, and Mike Evans, Brown, Godwin, and Gronkowski all play solid fantasy games. Story of the game, though, was Ronald Jones Jr. with a 98-yard touchdown and 198 scrimmage yards. Robbie Anderson played far below his season standard, as DJ Moore was the only viable option on this Panthers team, with McCaffrey being gone and Mike Davis not playing up to his level. Buccaneers improved to 7-3 on the season and still in second place in that NFC South. Carson, what do you guys say about this one?
Yeah, the Bucs came out balling after they got embarrassed last week against the Saints. I swear Gronk, someone somewhere must have sent him our podcast, and because since then he's been doing really, really well with at a position that's not consistent at all. Mike Evans finally finds the end zone. It's good to see him finally have a good game. Antonio Brown having a solid stat line. That's good to see. And yeah, like you said, Ronald Jones just having a monster game. Brady looked good too. And then as for Carolina, I wasn't really expecting much from them just because like the Bucs defense like is really good. DJ Moore had a nice day. I expected Mike Davis to do a little bit more just because, whatever running, whoever is in that running back position, is going to get a ton of volume no matter what, a lot of check downs, a lot of rushes. But I think with the game script, he, limited his only 7 carries, but I expect a bigger workload from him next week. If CMC doesn't play.
Exactly. Jose, anything?
I mean, Ronald Jones with a Derrick Henry-ass game. He had that 98-yard run, and he got 20 carries. I mean, at this point, I think it's safe to say I would trust him more than Fournette, just because he's kind of been like their workhorse the whole year, except for like a couple weeks where Fournette was outshining him. But going forward, I think I'd rather trust Ronald Jones. Still don't see him as a running back 1 or anything, but I think he's definitely a better option.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, especially after this game, because like, if you're Arians, how can you look at Jones and be like, oh, we're gonna have to give the ball to Fournette more? Like he absolutely went off, and against like a Panthers defense who isn't like one of the best, but like they're really frisky.
They
solid,
got a good rookie
defense
in the middle. Yeah, Derek Brown's been doing well. Brian Burns, yeah. I know he got a sack on the day, at least from what I saw. But it's a defense that. I mean, good job by Ronald Jones, but I think it's all based on run scheme. Fournette's more of a power back, you could say, and Rojo's more of a elusive back, but definitely Rojo's someone that more trust. So going into game number 7, the battle of the rookie quarterbacks, Tua Tagovailoa improves to 3-0 on his young career as the Dolphins win their 5th straight game over the Chargers. Herbert totals 3 touchdowns and an interception on the day, as Kalen Ballage was the offense for the Chargers with 68 rushing yards and 34 receiving. The Dolphins will look to further their win streak with games against the Broncos, Jets, and Bengals coming up next, looking to fight for this AFC East title. Carson, what do you guys say about this one?
Yeah, the Joshua Kelly, like Justin Jackson hype just seemed to die like so fast. I mean, this is Ballage's position until Eckler comes back, and I think even if when Eckler comes back, he's earned a spot in that rotation just because he's been playing really well since they activated him. Yeah, I kind of expected this because, the Dolphins, they've been rolling, especially on defense. The Chargers, it's hard for them to, even win games anyway. Herbert kind of came down to earth a little bit. Keenan Allen was going to have a bad day, and so he salvaged his day with a touchdown late. And then, yeah, the Dolphins just keep rolling. Not really too much fantasy stock in any guys. Really, it's kind of hard to trust in them. They're just a really solid team. They, their defense is insane. Their special teams. But we got to talk about Solomon Ahmad coming out of nowhere with 21 carries, 85 yards, and a touchdown. Yeah, definitely look for him because I think how long is Gaskin going to be out? At least another couple weeks.
Yeah, and Jordan Howard was just released this week too, following the game.
Yeah, so this is his backfield. So yeah, definitely he's going to be an important waiver wire pickup.
Jose, anything else to add?
Yeah, I mean, I told you guys about Balaj, but RIP Jordan Howard. They paid him $6 million to average 1 yard per carry. That's to the point where it was more beneficial for them to just cut him. But hopefully Eckler comes back soon and he performs like he did before he went out. But Salvon Ahmed, with coming out of literally nowhere, I've never heard of this guy before this game. I really thought it was about to be Jordan Howard's backfield, but yeah, look for Salvon Ahmed, I guess.
I guess so. He seems like he's rolling there. So going to game number 8.
Oh, one guy that also sticks out. Sorry,
no,
Liam, I gotta mention real quick, bro. Jakeem Grant, like every time I see this dude play is so lit. He is so fast, and like I just can't wait for them to actually figure out a way to get him involved, like a lot of the game, not just like on specialty kind of use, because he is so fast. Like him and McLeod are the two guys that like kind of stood out to me like on special teams, and I think like next year he might be like a nice like breakout candidate because once they figure him out, he's crazy fast.
Yeah, if Jakeem Grant's get used in a role like, you kind of need a scheme like the Niners do with Deebo Samuel, doing some jet passes, stuff like that.
Yes.
He's someone that can get around the line
really God.
Easily. More like a Brandon Ayuk, I guess you could say, because Deebo's more of a running backfield. Ayuk's more on that side. But, yeah, so going to the next one, an absolute ground massacre by the Raiders as Drew Lock throws 4 interceptions and the Raiders improved to 6-3 on the season with a 37-12 victory over the Broncos, with the playoffs still very much so a possibility. Josh Jacobs and Devontae Booker combined for 4 touchdowns on the ground as Jacob finally performs up to his fantasy draft position. Jose, what do you guys say about this one?
Yeah, I mean, I told you guys to buy stock in Jacobs. I knew the big weeks were coming. They're going to keep giving him the ball no matter what, and he's eventually going to fall in the end zone. This week he fell in there twice. Imagine if they didn't give all those carries to Devontae Booker, how many times he could have gotten in the end zone. But, I was expecting a bigger game from Carr. Really didn't pass the ball that many times, only made 16 completions. But this Broncos team has been really struggling through the air and on the ground. Melvin Gordon with just the most disappointing performance that you've seen from a running back. No receptions, no nothing, only 4 yards per carry. And Phillip Lindsay, I mean, what's happened to this guy? A couple of weeks ago, he was, looking more explosive than Gordon at some points and looking like he was about to win the backfield again. But, 4 carries for 2 yards. It's like, what's going on here?
Exactly. Carson, anything to add?
Yeah, the Broncos are just hard to watch. I mean, Drew Lock, like people were really like hyping this guy so much before the season's throwing 4 picks. And Jose's talking about how he was talking about Jacobs. Like I wasn't saying the same thing. Kind of pissed off that bad, but it's cool. It's cool. Yeah, Jacobs had a monster day. I'm surprised to see Booker like get so much work too. I think it's just because like the game script, they were up. They were up big, pretty early, like in the second half. So probably just, don't want to overuse Jacobs. But yeah, 16 carries, that's a ton. And yeah, so it was all run game for them. And the Broncos, start anyone against the Broncos because they look terrible.
Mm-hmm. All right, so going into probably, yes, the game of the week, no doubt. The Cardinals with a 32-30 victory over the Bills. DeAndre Hopkins brings in a mega 43-yard game-winning touchdown pass in triple coverage from Kyler Murray as the Cardinals take a lead in a 3-way tie for the NFC West. Kyler Murray becomes the first QB since MVP Cam to record 10 rushing touchdowns on the season. Kenyon Drake records a quiet 100 yards on the ground in his return, and Josh Allen duels with Murray and his Cardinals, but great performances from Beasley and Diggs aren't enough to stop Hopkins. Carson, what do you guys say about this one?
Yeah, I mean, where do we even start with this game? Like, this game was awesome, like fantasy-wise, real life. I mean, this is the best game of the regular season. I know no other game is going to come close. I mean, that Seahawks-Cardinals game was pretty lit, but it did not have the Hail Mary, what do they call it? The Hail Murray. That's no. But, yeah, Josh Allen had a great game. I mean, he freaking caught a touchdown pass. Diggs, doing what Diggs has been doing all season, 10 catches, 93 yards, and a touchdown. He wasn't even the best receiver on their team today. Cole Beasley had a monster game. Just probably been one of the best flex options because no one ever talks. Like, I see articles talk about how he's a waiver wire pickup. Like, how is this dude still on waivers in some leagues? Unless you're in like a 4-team or something. Yeah, Diggs and Beasley, he had that nasty one-hand catch. And then the Cardinals, I mean, Murray just, once he gets going, I mean, the Bills actually did a solid job of containing him on a lot of plays, but, you're not going to contain him, every time. Murray's just a beast. And then Hopkins, monster stat line. This game was awesome, bro. It was so fun to watch. Honestly, it was getting kind of cringy in the fourth quarter because they were just trading turnovers, but they both salvaged it with, Josh Allen throwing a dart at the end to take the lead, and then the Hail Murray. That was awesome. Like, this game was so fun.
Jose, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I have so much to say about this game. I really thought it was over. I thought Josh Allen was trying to lose the game at one point. I mean, he threw like 2 terrible picks.
Yes.
And it's just like
exactly.
Yeah. And then Beasley, if John Brown is out, which we saw him go down for a portion of this game, if John Brown is out, Cole Beasley is low-key a wide receiver too. And before this game, he had only been rostered in like 51% of leagues or something stupid like that, which I don't understand. Like, this is one of the
They're
most
sleeping.
Yeah. But I really thought it was over. There was like less than a minute left, and I had like low-key stopped watching. I was looking at my phone, and then I just see Murray throw up a prayer, and then DeAndre Hopkins just absolute mossed the shit out of the entire Bills secondary.
Especially on all-pro corner Tre'Davious White.
Yeah.
Small on that.
Luckily, I was playing against Kyler Murray. I was hoping that wouldn't take you over the bump, but luckily I had Stephon Diggs to catch down in there.
And you even had Beasley on your bench.
I know. Once I saw Murray have that, I was like, oh, like that was so sad. Like, that would have been so awesome to win and all that. And then I'm like, oh yeah, this dude had Allen and Diggs. That was like that one play got you like 15 points or something. We have to mention real quick, I mean, Kenyon Drake did actually have a nice day. I mean, 16 carries, 100 yards, average 6.3 yards. I mean, but not getting any work receiving, didn't get a touchdown, but we do have to mention that because he did actually have a solid day running the ball. But you forgot he was even there. It was the Kyler Murray and Josh Allen show. And then the 2 receivers, who got traded, I think on the same day in the offseason, have just been amazing all season for both of their teams. And this could be a Super Bowl matchup, and this would be awesome. This would be probably, if the Chiefs aren't in, give me this matchup. This would be awesome.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of recency bias. I mean, the Chiefs were on a bye week. You got to be aware Patrick Mahomes is playing out of his mind right now. I think he's got 25 TDs and one interception.
Yeah, this is a dark horse. This would be like a 50-1 bet, but I still put money on it just because.
For sure. So going into game number 10, we got the Steelers winning a convincing matchup against the Bengals as the Steelers improved to 9-0 in the season with a 36-10 victory over the Bengals. On the Bengals side of the ball, T. Higgins is the only Bengal to score, putting up 115 yards with a solid game in fantasy. Big Ben, though, won the game through the air for the Steelers with 4 touchdowns with Deontay Johnson, Juju, and Mapletron himself, each bringing in at least 1 with Claypool bringing in 2. The Steelers should be able to win at least 14 games now this season by the outlook of it. So, Jose, what do you got to say about this one?
It was kind of pissing me off why they were using Samaje Perine so much. But the Steelers, every single Steelers receiver that started, Claypool, Smith-Schuster, and Deontay Johnson, each top 20 points. with double-digit targets. So I feel good about starting either of them going forward. But Connor with a kind of a pretty bad game. Besides that one long run he had, 13 carries for 36. Just not great from Connor. But the Steelers, they're looking like they could easily go 16-0. It's not out of the realm of possibility at this point. The more and more I keep doubting them, the more and more they keep proving me wrong. So, I do want to see it just for the culture, for the history.
Exactly. Carson, anything else?
Yeah, that's insane that all three of those guys got 20 plus points. I don't even know if that's. I'm sure it's happened before, but I can't even remember a time that's happened. And yeah, their identities, they're all passing. They're an air attack. You can't really trust any of their running backs. And T. Higgins is a guy that I need all of his stock for next season. Going to be in the second season. Out of everyone, AJ Green, 5 targets, 0 catches. He's the guy that I think him and Burrow just have like a really special connection. Boyd too, but I think Higgins has really emerged as like their guy, especially after today. But yeah, Steelers just keep on rolling. Their schedule is like pretty bad, like the rest of the way, right? They probably have to see what. Wait, have they already finished with Baltimore?
They play Baltimore one more time. I know they play Indianapolis. I know it's on the record. I mean, so I think there's a chance they probably do go 15-1. I think some team like Indianapolis, kind of matches up similarly. Really strong defense that the offense just kind of rolls with them. I mean, not the receiving talent of the Steelers, of course, but we'll see what happens. But going into game number 11, we have the Saints with a 27-13 victory over the 49ers. No surprise here. Despite a rough start to the game, though, for the Saints, Jameis Winston replaces Drew Brees in the second half, as Drew Brees seems to be out for a few weeks now with a punctured lung, unfortunately. And Kamara leads the Saints to a victory over the 49ers. Michael Thomas is officially the healthy bust of the year. Nothing else about it. Brandon Ayuk continues to play well, 75 yards and touchdowns, but the Saints improved to 7-2 on the season and continue to take lead of that NFC South. And we'll have the tiebreaker when it comes down to it versus the Buccaneers. So, Carson, what do you guys say about this one?
Yeah, it was sad to see because last season this was one of the best games of the regular season. The Kittle stiff arm getting them into field goal position, but yeah, this ended terribly for the Niners. Ayuk putting up a really nice season. He's someone again like T. Higgins that I think has a lot of stock for next season. McKinnon only 33 yards, and then as for the Saints, I mean Kamara just doing what he does. I mean only 8 carries for 15 yards, and which is terrible for most guys. Still gets 2 touchdowns. Still getting 7 receptions, 83 yards, and a touchdown. That is a great day for like any receiver, and he's a freaking running back. And I need all of Winston. They're playing Atlanta next week. I think besides like Murray, Mahomes, like the top guys, like I would move him like maybe even into like the top 10. Like he's finally gets to play. He's just gonna throw the ball like 50 times, and against Atlanta, who gives up points to everyone. So like I like Winston a lot next week.
Yeah, Jose.
Yeah, I'd say go full send on Jameis Winston.
Full send,
especially against the Atlanta secondary. It's sad that Kamara was able to get the goal line, the carries this week to get 2 touchdowns. I was hoping Latavius Murray would get those, but fire up Kamara, fire up Michael Thomas, because Winston throwing that rock like 60 times. He doesn't care if he throws a pick; he's throwing it.
A pick? Let's say multiple.
Yeah, he's going for like 400, 3 touchdowns, and like 2 picks or something.
Yeah, he's going for that 30 for 30 type beat again.
But then again, I would not be surprised if Peyton holds him back and he does a Murray and Kamara like attack. I would not be surprised at all. And Taysom Hill's
I can see that too. Either way,
if you can pick up Taysom Hill, I would start him at tight end. If you don't have a good option, he's going to be getting some work. I'm guaranteed he'll be throwing some deep balls out there to Traquan, and Slant King will be doing something maybe.
Ben said that.
All right, so yeah, I know you mentioned it in the video earlier. So game number 12. We have the Rams with a 23-16 victory over the Seahawks. MVP frontrunner, no more, Russell Wilson, turns the ball over 3 times in a crucial loss due to division rival LA Rams. DK Metcalf sees no success with Jalen Ramsey putting the locks on him, and Tyler Lockett can't make up for the difference. Jared Goff plays his role as the game manager as Darrell Henderson Jr. and Malcolm Brown combined for 3 rushing touchdowns on the season, and the Rams and Seahawks both moved to 6-3 on the season. But something, that isn't acknowledged in fantasy, the person that had those 2 picks was Darius Williams, the Rams cornerback, and he's been playing very well this year alongside Jalen Ramsey. I know he had a big pass deflection in the end zone against Tyler Lockett, but yeah, picking off 2 passes from Russell Wilson yourself isn't, the easiest thing to do. So good looks from him. So Jose, what do you guys say about this one?
Yeah, I mean, MVP who? This guy had 2 picks, got sacked 6 times, and had a 31 QB rating. I'm pretty sure they give you a 30 just for putting your name on the paper. But yeah, just a terrible fucking game from Russell Wilson. Like, he's shit the bed 2 weeks in a row now. There's no way anything he does will make up, put him back into that MVP contention. I think it's definitely Kyler Murray's award to lose at this point in time. Or Mahomes, yeah. But let's hope, Murray can kind of keep it up. I don't know if Mahomes would win it, even if, he does put up the insane stats just because of voters' fatigue. And, we already know that Mahomes is Mahomes, so we kind of want to see someone new. That's just why Murray's going to take it.
I think it's dependent on record for the Cardinals. If the Cardinals win the division, I'm giving Murray that MVP 100%. But Carson, anything else to add?
Definitely, yeah, definitely.
Okay, so
yeah, I mean, Russ.
You want to add anything? Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add real quick, just about the rushing attack. I mean, I thought Cam Akers was like a corpse, but he comes out and he leads the team in carries. But yeah, I just still can't trust his backfield. I mean, yeah, he led the team in carries, but then he didn't get any of the goal line work. He could have had 3 touchdowns, but those went to the other 2 guys. And and Jose, I think you mentioned Josh Reynolds. He had a great day against Seattle, and DK too, who I thought was matchup proof. I think a lot of it was just Russ just kind of struggling because I did see him calling for the ball and open on a few plays. He looked pretty frustrated, but I still wouldn't worry about Lockett and Metcalf. I mean, they're going to put up theirs in the weeks to come.
I mean, yeah, Jalen Ramsey, as much as people hate on him, is still one of the best corners in the game. So expect, DK was going to get worked up. So probably, according to the Patriots fan at my floor, not the surprise of the week because he said he's going to bet his entire life savings on it. But the Patriots with a 23-17 victory over the Ravens. Patriots other star cornerback, J.C. Jackson records his 5th straight game with an interception, bringing his total to 6 on the season as the Patriots beat down reigning MVP Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Willie Snead appears to be Jackson's favorite target as of recent, and he brings in 2 touchdowns. But Rex Burkhead brings in 2 touchdowns through the air, 1 from Newton and 1 from Jacoby Myers. But Kev Newton, gets his 3rd passing touchdown of the season, but scores another on the ground. And rookie Damian Harris tops 100 yards yet again as the Patriots improve to 4-5. Probably not going to see some playoff at all from them, but see that team growth. And the Ravens now 6-3 are tied with the Browns for second in their division, and their playoff spot is not locked in. So, Joel, what do you guys say about this one?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you got to, mention the fact that they were playing a whole ass hurricane, a whole tsunami, basically. I think that, definitely added to the struggles a bit. But yeah, it's definitely a surprise to see the Ravens lose like this. Great to see, finally, the Patriots have some young talent that, they can, kind of be excited about for the future. Obviously not as great as some other teams and their young talent, but Jacoby Myers has, really, kind of been like a Travis Fulgham guy where, he's just a target machine on a bad team. And, he's Cam's go-to guy. Great to see Harris getting, RB1 workload with 22 carries. And then Burkhead, actually another really great game for Burkhead. He had a couple touchdowns. And as for the Ravens, pretty much the same for everyone. It's been the same for everyone on their offense. Marquise Brown nowhere to be seen. Mark Andrews actually got in the double digits again. 7 catches, 61 yards. And then Willie Snead with a Marvin Jones type game where just comes out of nowhere and puts up, a great day in fantasy. But yeah, just wow. I did not expect this. So I didn't watch this game because I was at work, but I was like, holy crap. How did they just lose to the Patriots?
Yeah, definitely surprised. Jose, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I told you guys about Jacoby Myers. I think he's going to be pretty solid going forward. He did throw a touchdown pass. So, he
Yeah.
threw one more than Baker. But, the problem with
One
New
more than Foles, too.
Yeah. The problem with New England running backs is they always have like a designated third down back and a designated like workhorse back. If Damian Harris were to be getting the same kind of target and pass that Rex Burkhead gets, he would undoubtedly be, in that RB1 consideration. But because he just
Yeah.
gets absolutely no passing game at all, and Cam Newton vultures all the rushing touchdowns in the goal line. It's kind of holding him back, and that's always been the problem with New England running backs in the past. Same thing with Sony Michel last year and James White, which is really frustrating because if they were to just give that workload to one running back, we would have another elite running back in the league. But
Yeah, I mean, for sure, especially what you're saying about Cam Newton. So it's going to be interesting to see in the offseason to pay attention on the fantasy aspect. If Cam Newton does stay in New England, it's going to have a heavy impact on, where you're drafting Damian Harris. But if he does leave and, you see like Stidham come in or you see a rookie quarterback come in, it's going to be interesting. Damian Harris is probably going to be, someone that people draft as a flex option or even an RB2 if you're in a deeper league. So something interesting to pay attention to. So, going into Monday night's game, not the most interesting games. The Vikings with a 19-13 victory over the Bears. So with David Montgomery out due to concussion, the Bears look to special team star Cordell Patterson to be the leader of their backfield this game. Unfortunately, this does not work since he's basically a wide receiver / special team star. As Adam Thielen found the end zone twice, and the Vikings moved to 4-5 in the season. Dalvin Cook with a major step back from his previous two games, but still a solid game as Thielen and Jefferson lead the way. The Bears only score on a Cordell Patterson 104-yard return touchdown. Mini Devin Hester out there. So, Carson, what do you guys say about this one?
Yeah, this game showed me like Justin Jefferson, like he's the truth, man. Like, I mean, I have him in another league, and I just like didn't even really think about starting him just because like, it's against the Bears, really good defense. Kirk Cousins, he finally got his first win on Monday Night Football tonight, but he never plays well in big games. But went crazy. I mean, 8 receptions, 135 yards on 10 targets. He looked great. And then Thielen having a nice day with 2 touchdowns. And, I mean, Cook, had a pretty bad day for Cook standards, but still, 30 carries, 96 yards. I think he finished with like 15 points, which is still, for the running back, still a solid day just because there's not many guys putting up 15 or more. But yeah, Justin Jefferson will stand for me, man. He looked amazing. I mean, he's looked really good all season, but I was really shocked to see him do this against a really good Bears defense.
Yeah, and Jose, anything else to add?
This Bears team, after starting off 5-1, now sitting at 5-5. It's kind of sad to see just the fall off of their team and just their organization. I mean, they started off with Trubisky. Now Foles is hurt. Who knows who's going to be starting next week? I don't even know who their third quarterback is, but Dalvin Cook with 30 carries, but a pretty civilian game for him. Only 15 points, which is like crazy to say that that's a bad game for him. But I was just expecting more out of Foles, especially against this bad Minnesota secondary. But
and someone I was actually looking at for the Bears is Darnell Mooney. I know a lot of people were speaking up on him. I know he's a good rookie wide receiver. I've seen people putting super high praise on him, saying that he's going to end up as one of the top 5 people from this draft, wide receiver wise, at the end of it. I don't have any stock in that, but people saying he's a sleeper, but kind of a dud week. I mean, Allen Robinson's Allen Robinson, so he's going to get those targets. But, so without further ado, I will head on into the team of the week, brought to you by ours truly, Jose. So, quarterback 1,
killed it.
Got Tom Brady with his monster victory over the Panthers and bounced back from that disappointing primetime game against the Saints. RB1, no surprise here. Alvin Kamara bringing in 3 touchdowns against the 49ers. Josh Jacobs, RB2, with a game, that we expect out of him. 29.6 points as he brings in 2 touchdowns on the ground. And Cole Beasley, 27.9, makes him wide receiver 1 on the year. I'm guessing this is a position he's probably never finished with in his career, but a good performance to see out of Cole Beasley, getting a lot of receptions and yards out there and brought in the touchdown. DeAndre Hopkins, Mr. Moss himself, 25.7 points. Mark Andrews against the Patriots with 13.1, and I know Gronkowski also had 13.1. And flex, we got Nyheim Hines with 28.5 points against the Titans. Defense, we got the Saints as they held the Niners to 13 points. And Tyler Bass, someone we don't talk about in fantasy is kickers, but he had 3 50-yard field goals, and that allowed him to get 18 points. And totaling for this week with 224.44 points is your fantasy team of the week. So I think that's all here for today. And without further ado, signing out. Peace.